Staying with that story, let's now bring in for you former EFF member and author of No White Lies, Black Politics and White Power in South Africa, Kim Heller. She joins us now virtually. Kim, thank you so much for your time this evening here on SABC News. I mean, let's start off here. The EFF celebrating 12 years of existence today in the Western Cape in Khayelitsha. What do you make of the party's existence now for 12 years and the journey it has travelled to be where it is today?
I think to all the fighters across South Africa and even across the continent, because it's a political party that's growing in Africa too, I would like to extend my birthday wishes to all of you. And, you know, you're correct in identifying me as an ex-EFF member. In fact, in its formation, I was part of the leadership structure. And I've written a lot about the teething problems of the organization. But today, as I reflect back on the organization as a political analyst and independent voice, I think that the party has done a tremendous job. I think it's got over a lot of its teething problems. And the discussion today that we saw in Khayelitsha, a pit of black poverty, a symbol of the inequality and undone revolution and transformation in our country, was very, very significant. What I enjoyed in particular was the focus on the issue of industrialization and development that the CIC Julius Malema put forward. I think this shows a maturity of politics, a willingness to move from a party that some describe as disruptive to a party that is imagining a different development trajectory for the country, which is certainly well needed.
And Kim, maybe let's also then talk about, the EFF. And you were saying initially that, it continues to grow. And, during the last elections in the country, we saw the emergence of the MK party. What do you make of the EFF, 12 years since its inception and now beginning to slipping to fourth place? It was known as the third largest party in South Africa. What do you make of that political trajectory, seeing it slip to fourth place?
Certainly, and I think that's a very good question to ask, because any analyst or any member of the EFF, and certainly the leadership, would take cognizance of the less than satisfactory electoral performance in 2024. Certainly it took a tumble. Not as much as the ANC government, but still it was substantially affected. And every single party in this election was affected by the MK, which really was the dark horse. And all of us as political analysts actually underestimated the might of the MK and its impact not only in KwaZulu-Natal, but across South Africa. So that certainly did dig into the support levels of the EFF, but actually more considerably into the ANC, as you know, which took the ruling party into a minority government. And I think that in the beginning there was a lot of talk about, I think Julius Malema, as you would imagine, would have been quite scarred by the defection of his core leader and close friend, and I think in the beginning, that the infighting and the political competition didn't do anyone well, let's be honest. But I think what we saw today on the stage was vintage Malema. He got back to business, and he's given, I think, a lot of confidence to the organization. And I was very pleased to see that there were EFF formations from other African countries. I do believe, from my own perspective, that we haven't seen the best of EFF. I believe it's going to be a strong force in the continent. And despite its 9%, it is a party that punches well beyond its weight. I mean, it even had a debut performance show in the White House recently. So, it's a party that has some impact.
And Kim, as the EFF celebrates 12 years, of course, next year we are facing the local government elections. It has a lot of work to do, particularly when it comes to KwaZulu-Natal. How does it begin to regain lost ground right now when it is also faced with the likes of the MK party?
I think it's probably not going to recover in the KwaZulu area. I think we've got a very strong force in the shape of the MK, and I think the EFF would do well to go back to its real critical spots and build and develop there. I think it's got some work to do on building organizational structures and making sure that they are completely in line with the people on the ground. So there's a lot of work to do. I think next year's election is going to be very telling for the robustness of the EFF and its clarion call, the resonance of its voice amongst ordinary South Africans.
And looking at its support structures today and looking at its presence and dominance, particularly when it celebrates 12 years, can it, gain or grow beyond being just a 9% party, as some would dub it as now?
I do think so. I think one of the questions, and this is what I wrote about a few weeks ago, is that we have to look at the complexion and configuration of our political party landscape. And I would like, and it doesn't look very possible at the moment, that we have a collaboration between the more progressive forces, the more black-leaning parties. And I think unless that is happening, all the political parties to the left of the ANC are going to continue to be small players rather than critical architects in building a country beyond the imagination that we have been given by the ANC. I think if these parties come together, we are going to see a new way of doing things. We're going to see black dignity return for the black child, but it requires unity. And sadly, I think that's not in play at the moment.
Kim, thank you so much for your time. That's Kim Heller there, also former EFF member, author of No White Lies, Black Politics and White Power in South Africa, also a political commentator now, giving us her perspective as the EFF celebrated 12 years of being in existence today.